see a political discussion and how to make some chicken fried rice. That's what we're going to do. So I know some of you say, hey, where did that multitasking thing that you normally do? Because it's nice to learn a skill while you're learning about the world. Why not, right? So, yeah, I've got to make some chicken fried rice because I haven't made some in a while. I got the chicken in there. So, following the campaign, the Harper campaign, the Justin Trudeau campaign, you can simply just refer to him as Justin. Apparently, there were some good call-outs, I guess you could say, from Harper today. Actually, really kind of took a real huge pot shot at Kathleen Wynne. It's about time. I don't know if it was kind of professional of him to do, but it was kind of funny. Actually, it wasn't kind of funny. It was real funny. So a reporter's asking him, I haven't talked too much from Justin Trudeau a little bit, but Thomas Mulcair I don't think is actually, well, he probably has by now, but he came out and he didn't actually take any questions, which is kind of weird when you're campaigning to run the country. He's going to kind of want to know what you think, you know what I mean? Why he didn't take questions on the first day, I don't know. I don't know what that was about. It's not a very good campaign strategy, but we'll have to see what happens there. But Justin Trudeau pretty much trying to win over people over there in Calgary. I don't know how that's going to work. It's one of those things that he is kind of trying to do damage control in the sense that, on the experience thing. But the thing is it's not the experience that worries me about Justin Trudeau. It's not even the chunk onion there. That's good. Yeah, I eat raw onion, I eat raw garlic. I'm that person. I'll never be attacked by a vampire, I can tell you that. But the thing is that the people keep coming back to the same thing with Harper, and it does seem to keep coming back to the same thing with the other guys too, because, again, everybody, they kind of got their eye on the ball when it comes to their own interest. They're looking at it saying, hey, you know what? How secure is my job really? Oh, that's a good piece of chunk of garlic. And people are really worried about the economy. So I know there's a lot of people that watch videos like mine and other people, and they're saying, well, people just, they're completely oblivious to what's going on in the world, and so they're not. They're really not. Well, maybe in some countries, yes, but I mean, nobody can really argue with me that people in Greece don't know what's going on. What the question is what do we do about it, right? Like, I mean, Harper has been doing some weird dancing with the economy questions. He has, it's kind of weird. Like I say, you never hear from the guy, which is so bizarre. Like, when they do good stuff, they don't tell anybody. When they do bad stuff, they put, that's what they put in front of the media. So Bill C-51 kind of comes up as an issue for a lot of people. For me, I'm kind of a little more cold than lukewarm on it. I don't like the idea. I don't care what the process is, as long as you follow due process. To me, I don't care about the safety aspect if it trumps rule of law, meaning get a warrant. I don't care if they have extra powers to spy or do whatever. I don't mind giving them the RCMP and stuff like that tools. I have my issues with the RCMP and CSIS and all that. But as long as they get a warrant, if it's warranted, yeah, okay, sure, make their job easier. But it's not as bad. Again, Bill C-51 isn't as bad as people think it is, and it's not as good as people think it is. So depending on what side of the fence you're on, it really, there's bad on both sides. But yet that's the policy that they really pushed, that the Liberals and the and the NDP were completely, I figured that would be the first thing they'd be attacking, and so far they haven't hardly brought it up at all, which is kind of funny. What seems to be the question, even Justin Trudeau's kind of said, look, people are worried about the economy. He knows that. The problem is Justin Trudeau is a Keynesian. So is Thomas Mulcair, meaning sell the future now, spend, live a better life now, put the burden on the future generations. Harper is not a Keynesian. I wouldn't call him an Austrian economics, but he's not Keynesian, meaning you can't spend your way out of debt. The thing that Harper is saying is that the policies that the NDP, and he lumps them all together, and the Liberals want, is what led to the things. He's not saying it directly, but he's pretty much hinting that's what led to Greece, Spain, and Italy, and Ireland, and all that. And he also recounted that, said, look, we're the only country that didn't get an economic downgrade. Our currency is still, yeah, it's falling a bit, but it's we got $1 billion over budget. That's nothing. Find me another country that's only added, only $1 billion over on their budget. Now, that budget isn't the deficit. The deficit, yeah, we got 700 million or whatever it is. We're not at a trillion yet. I don't ever want to get there. So what they got to start doing if they want to keep people. Remember, the conservatives are incrementalists. They're not really conservatives. They're socialist fascists. They'd rather than call themselves socialist fascists. It's just branding is kind of a funny thing. It's kind of like the NDP. I wish they would just come out and say they were socialist communists. The Liberals, they're socialist. They're so middle of the road socialist fascist. The Conservatives are right-wing fascist in the sense that they're a little more, I wouldn't say free market, but the trade deals and stuff like that. One thing Harper talked about was, I said, look, for people know, like they're not stupid. They know that we were going to, that bad oil prices and stuff like that were going to hurt us. But in the long term, we're probably going to do good. And here's why. Because he keeps referring to trade partners, not U.S. trade partners. The Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership, that's just something he wants that feather in his cap, sure. But he's thinking bigger. Harper's thinking the world. Again, he's in it for himself. There's no question. I'm not giving him a rating endorsement, but I'm just telling people, look, because you get a lot of people, and the same with Obama too. I mean, Obama does do some things that, I can't think of anything right now, but he does do some good things. But for the majority of the stuff he does, I don't like. It's what he says and what he does. Harper tends to say what he's going to do and just, okay, I'll tell you once, and if you didn't hear me back then, I'm not going to repeat it. And then he keeps doing it. So that's the problem with Harper. He doesn't, but that's probably the strategy that works for him. Out of sight, out of mind. Anytime a politician's in front of you, they're going to tick you off. So I think his strategy is, well, we know they're going to be mad at us no matter what we do. How about we just, stay out of their vision. It's kind of like when you have like little kids in the house, and one gets in trouble and you're mad at them. It's like you don't want to see them for 15 minutes, right? So the kid's like smart. I'm just going to go and hide somewhere until they cool down. Well, that's what Harper does. He's like a man-child. You know what I mean? But all kidding aside, he does bring up the point that, okay, we're going to take a hit. And he keeps hinting to this, the storm coming, but he's not saying it in full force. He says, look, he's not coming out and saying, we're in a recession on my watch. He's not, but, he's kind of stonewalling it like any politician would. And he's saying, look, Justin Trudeau's saying, it's your fault because it's on your watch. He says, look, 2008, remember what we did. And you got to put credit where credit's due. It kept the ship off the rocks. We are doing austerity. You have to understand, the Conservative Party is incrementalist. They take away a little at a time. If they were to come in, slash and burn, cut this government job, you'd have all the unions out there in 5 minutes, and we'd go so left-wing, so far left that we'd have to be fed with a slingshot, because this is the problem Ontario is facing. Now Kathleen Wynne comes out, and I love this pot shot, it was pretty good. He goes, the reporter, and again, you have to understand, Harper's not getting baby questions. There's nobody giving him easy questions. But he's got, his answers are basically the policies they had before. They're really not doing anything new. They're just sticking to the course, and that's the whole message they have. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing. Love them or hate them, but that's what their message is. So one reporter goes out and says, look, you've, basically didn't meet with the premiers enough, and Kathleen Wynne, criticized you on this, and this. His response was really, really nice. Kind of like, well, he said, when we won the election the first time around back 2004, 2006, whatever year it was, he goes, I forget who it was that told him, he says, the premiers that are doing well with their economies will like you. The rest, and he just left it at that, kind of like hint, which is interesting to see how he's going to get, if we can get the Conservative more back into Quebec, maybe we could level out some of that debt too. Just drop the taxes a bit. It's not like we get anything for them anyway. Quebec is the most corrupt province, and I'm in. And it's under the NDP, it's been more expensive, not cheaper. The Liberals, Couillard here in Quebec, love him or hate him, he's been basically doing austerity. So he's not doing anything that the Conservatives aren't doing. So how do you rebrand that, right? You can't. It's like, well, we got to wrangle the debt. But in Ontario, they're saying, no, you need to bail us out. They're because Kathleen Wynne is way over her head. Again, the last election between Tim Hudak and all that, people should have voted for Tim Hudak provincially, but he was a little too scary for them. Why? Because think about it, the majority of people in Ontario work in the government. So we're not going to get away from that by spending our way out of debt, but we have to wrangle it. Now or later is later always pay me now, pay me later. Later always hurts more. So how the Conservatives are going to do in Ontario, which is a Liberal stronghold, it's hard to say. How will the Liberals do out in out in Alberta? I don't think they're going to do as well as they think. I think because the NDP, they took over, as soon as the oil hit. So people say, okay, well, it was this government that did this. We had you for 40 years and you screwed the pooch and now we're screwed. But I think people are catching on that, okay, well, all this promise of there was no plan with the NDP out there in Alberta other than spend more. Here we are, okay. Just think about this in your own household. Okay, we're massively over debt. Things are going to get cut off. We're going to lose this, that. And your significant other says, okay, let's go spend a whole bunch of money on new stuff that, we can't afford. What do you think's going to happen? There's going to be a big fight over that, eh? But that's the whole thing, is that when we're looking out west, we see that there isn't really a plan that the NDP has, which is going to, they never did. And remember, people don't vote for people, they vote against the other guy. And that's the thing with, I'm not giving Harper a reigning endorsement. I know some people might think I am, but I'm not. What I'm saying is there's no other alternative really but them, because the alternatives are Grease-Spain kind of economics, Keynesian economics that will not only cripple the country, but it's going to be a death sentence for people who heavily rely on government services. Why? Because the cuts, they're coming no matter what. You can't keep spending and spending and spending, and you can't put the rest of the country on it. Now, over here in Quebec, again, they have to wrangle their spending because they're, you have to understand a lot of provinces, not just Quebec, but other provinces, the have-not provinces. Okay, I'm going to put a little more race in here. Basically, in a nutshell, get transfer payments from the wealthier provinces. Now, Ontario used to be a have province. Now it's not. It's massively in debt, and they can't do transfer payments. So it's, okay, well, Alberta's kind of no longer going to be the transfer payment province. Saskatchewan and Manitoba, our winning racehorse broke a leg, economically speaking. We're going to wait till that leg heals before we get anything out of Alberta. So in the meantime, you keep running up deficits. So with Kathleen Wynne, and a lot of, I get why she got voted in. The left love people like her because she's an emotional person in the sense that, I'll pick Harper as the bad guy, but I won't, talk about the things he's cutting. But you have to understand that's what we need to do. It doesn't matter what social programs you have. If you can't afford them, you're going to lose them anyway. And I think that people are starting to really grasp that idea. There was a professor who was very left-wing, was interviewed by, I think it was Brian Lilly or whatever, mainly on the gun control issue. But what he was doing was finding that a lot of liberals, the people that used to vote liberal and stuff like that, they can't vote that way anymore. They don't want to vote for the conservatives, but they know, they're not stupid. They can calculate. Now, the communist student, as I refer to them, or the social justice warrior, they have a social justice class out there. I forgot all about that thing, but yeah, that's out there. So the brainwashing they get, they think that, okay, yeah, government can take care of everything. But I heard Harper say something very grown up. I'll give him credit for this, is that he said government can't create jobs. All we can do is kind of make it easier to create a job, but we can't really create jobs. And that is not Keynesian thinking at all. That is definitely very what's called Austrian economic thinking, that you can't spend your way out of debt, and we have to live within our means. Problem is when in Ontario, particularly, the pay that the government employees get, who wants to be on the hook for cutting those jobs, right? So the thing is all these unionized jobs of people that you can't fire. And I don't like to see anybody out of work. I don't want to come off as fire every single government employee. What I say is we have to live within our means. Problem is government employees they're going to be faced with this in the future: pay cut, benefits cut, or job cut. That's what it comes down to. In the States, they just raised minimum wage to $15 an hour. I forget where, in a few places, and a few people got to $15 an hour. The rest got laid off. See what I mean? Again, you can't get blood from a stone. Some people they're just and I get it. You get a nice salary coming in from the government, it's your livelihood. I get that. But what they don't get is at what cost. At what cost? Who's losing out on that? You can't have a government sector bigger than the private sector. It's just not feasible. Unless the private sector, everybody in the private sector is a multimillionaire to be able to be taxed enough to do that. You can't do it. So, taxing, another question that was given to Harper. Again, you got a CBC question out there, and I was kind of kind of disappointed in Anna Thibodeau for doing this, who's a CBC reporter. She usually does ask some pretty good questions. But she started asking about, okay, well, you didn't refer to, you referred to Justin Trudeau as Justin and not Mr. Trudeau, and but you refer to Thomas Mulcair as Mulcair. Usually, when they're campaigning, it's it's a respectful thing to use last names, from leader to leader. Okay, fair enough. But is that really an important question? I mean, you've got a very limited amount of reporters that can actually get questions in. Very limited, right? And that's the question you ask? Like, really, grade school stuff? Like, I mean, people are asking the tough questions about the economy. They're asking that. And you have to understand that, and trust me, I think Harper understands more than anybody, that things can go down on his watch, and he knows people are temperamental and vengeful too. So if we see an economic, and we're looking around the world, again, I keep hearing about this miraculous, phenomenal U.S. recovery, but Harper's saying the opposite. He's saying, no, the U.S. recovery isn't quite as good as predicted. I think, you got to give him credit for that, because everybody else is saying, no, the U.S. is just a job boom. Everybody's gone to part-time because of Obamacare down there. The other thing is you have to look at it, is he's telling us there's another storm coming. We're going to weather through it. We're in the best spot to be. We're going to lose a lot in this storm, don't get me wrong. This economic storm I agree with Greg Manrio 100% on it. If you don't follow him, it doesn't matter. But anyway, what he says is that this next financial collapse is going to be a global killer. People are going to die in the masses. Not the way you think, mostly due to resources, lack of resources, meaning food. Most of this will probably take place in the third world, but a lot of European countries they're already experiencing it. If another massive global recession hits in the position that Greece and Spain are in, then what do? Well, usually go to war with somebody. When all else fails, you usually go to war. This is what also makes the world a very scary place right now. Now, Harper, I'm pretty sure he's going to get the Jewish vote no matter what, because of his stance on Israel. So I'm pretty sure he's pretty secure there. I'm pretty sure he's going to get the Ukrainian vote because he's pretty much, anti. And I mean, look, pick another world leader that told Putin off in the past year. Mine did, twice, to his face. Again, I would love to see Putin and Harper in a hockey game. See Putin coming up the center line, Harper, Hansen glasses on, missing a couple of teeth, crash, jab right into the board. And he's a big guy too. He just level the snap all that. I just love it to see. But I think Putin strikes me as the guy to high stick. He strikes me as that guy, you know what I mean? Or the slashing guy, He's going to be that. But Harper's just going to be full of momentum, bang, right into the boards, And I digress. So I want to see it. I just want to see. Who doesn't want to see that? Thumbs up if you want to see that. You know what I mean? Putin versus Harper in a hockey game, that'd be awesome. Both are hockey buffs too, so. But yeah, Harper's out there, his stance on Ukraine, although I disagree with our government stance on Ukraine because it's an EU, IMF, Anglo-American coup that happened there, which is getting a lot of poor Ukrainians killed for nothing. Because it's not about the Ukraine, it's about taking the breadbasket away from Russia, it's about taking naval ports away from Russia, it's about putting NATO on the border, not about saving. Eastern Europe is in a really bad position right now. And yes, the Russians are responding. So Harper's position, remember, Harper, he's obsessed with the Arctic, okay? The amount of trips to the Arctic, again, he holds the record for that. The amount of, because he wants the resources up there for, I guess, whoever, whichever company, they want to exploit that. So do the Russians. So right now, you have to understand, we've got to put ourselves in a spot to be able to defend ourselves, because we're going to, whether the Americans will be, depends on what their economy does, but if their economy goes down, it's going to be us shooting at the Russians up there. And maybe Alaska will become the 14th province, I don't know, but or the 11th province, or the fourth territory, whatever. It depends on what goes on there. I know people in Alaska, what the hell are you talking about? Well, when your country's broke, look, Johnny Depp just bought an island in Greece. Why? Because they're selling off the country. The bankers are getting the country pennies on the dollar. So basically, can't pay your debt, no problem. We won't bail you out unless you give us your resources. That's what the IMF does, right? They destroy countries. Now us, yeah, we're under IMF control too, but for some reason, we've been spared a lot of problems. That said, we are doing the same policies, just not to the same degree. We're just doing it slower. So again, we haven't hit the 2008 crisis yet. Maybe we're starting it now. We're just behind the world. That's I've been saying that forever. I stick to that, just because of where we are and stuff like that. We're doing the same policies. We're just doing them slower. But we're doing policies, like right now, when the housing market, if it blows up by the end of the summer, which it more likely will, because again, people are broke. Yeah, it's doing good in some areas, but it's not doing good everywhere. What might happen is, again, that could be something out of go against Harper. But the thing is, people are looking at it as, what's the alternative? And it was the same in the last election. What's the alternative? When it comes to the ISIS thing, pretty much he knows what game to play there. My take on it is a little different. Again, ISIS being another proxy war going on, and you have enough countries out there now talking about, particularly the United States, talking about attacking Assad's troops openly. So the goal is to overthrow Assad, not to get ISIS out of there. That's another, again, it's geopolitics is dirty, right? But the thing is most people are responding to the idea that, okay, yeah, we're going to go over to, and blow up jihadists. Okay, yeah, sure, we're for it. But the thing is, as long as it's not another Afghanistan-style war, we're okay. This is where the United States is kind of screwed. Because people are saying, well, how come you haven't beat ISIS yet with the airstrikes? Which can't be done by air anyway. Oh yeah, you blew up a U.S.-made Humvee with a Russian Zu-23 machine gun on the back. Wow, big strategic victory, you know what I mean? And people are getting it that, boots on the ground are needed. But with the U.S. policy, no politician is going to survive another boots-on-the-ground war, particularly with the vets. And I know that Harper, he never usually comments on, on Obama very much, And he was asked today, well, Obama did this big, initiative thing against, for climate change and all that. Now, Harper said, well, we've already done the things against coal here. We don't have a lot of coal factories like we used to. We still have some, don't get me wrong, but, our emissions are, okay, we're not going to win the Green Year Award. But, again, alternative, cap and trade from Thomas Mulcair. In other words, another tax. Absolutely. It's basically the Al Gore scam. Cap and trade, whatever they want to call it. They're putting lipstick on a pig on that one, where they're just calling it something else, but it's really the same thing. It's an extra tax, and the tax breaks that we've gotten from the conservatives, although most people don't really notice it. Why? Because our dollar just doesn't go as far. And that's not just our country. Our country just is a little better off than some. There's probably a lot of countries out there. We're like 5th best country to live in right now, according to like the UN and stuff like that. I have my issues with the UN too. I have issues with a lot of government organizations, I really do. I'm not anti-government, but, we do got to kind of wrangle some of the insane stuff. And the only government that seems to be doing that right now is kind of like our government, maybe a handful of the Swiss, they're kind of doing stuff like that, where, again, they're fiscally responsible. They always have been. So they have hard times too, but, they're not in a bad spot. Australia, New Zealand, they're kind of getting on the idea, again, Tony Abbott versus Stephen Harper, I think they were just split at birth. That's it, Like they're so close to each other in policy. Tony Abbott's over there in Australia. So you could see very clearly that there are people that are aligning in certain ways for trade deals and stuff like that. Again, our trade deals, I worry about our sovereignty, particularly with the Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership. I am not a fan of that, but I'm not against trade deals. But I don't think our country should be completely dependent on import-export type stuff. Because what happens is then, again, it's what we're experiencing right now. We've got a weak dollar, so yeah, we'll do better. We do better, for example, our tourism boosted up because of our weaker currency. But the thing about our currency, remember, there's nobody's currency around the world really other than a few of the BRICS nations that are backed by anything. China's backing their currency by gold, their new currency. India, Pakistan, even Iran, Russia starting to back its, well, they're not starting, but all these BRICS of the BRICS nations, they've backed their currency. Ours is backed by nothing. We have no gold in our vaults. However, we can back ourselves with resources and stuff like that. We do have gold in the country. So there is things that we can back it by. But right now it's not backed by anything. But what will make the Canadian dollar better and stronger, Iceland was thinking about taking on our currency. I don't think they should. I think they should just stick. I'm all for sovereign currencies. And perfect example I can give you is Greece. Because the Russians didn't come to the aid of Greece to say, okay, we don't, the Greeks, they don't want the IMF bailout. They don't want it. But they need to be able to create their own currency. They're not allowed to. If they did, they could probably rebound some of the. I mean, they're going to, no matter which way they go, they're kind of screwed. Ontario could end up, and Quebec, and a few other maritime provinces, could end up like Greece and Spain very, very, very easily out of control government spending. Especially, throw in a couple of natural disasters, and mark my words, this is going to be a winter coming up that we will not forget. When I do my weather prediction, you're not going to like me at all. Get your snow shovels ready. It's going to be brutal. But stuff like that adds up. The difference, though, is, us, it's just a matter of adjusting the policies to allow us to prosper. And that's the same with just about any country. But the thing is the only people that are saying that, okay, well, here's our plan, we're going to roll it out without, more left-wing spending. When I refer to left-wing spending, I'm talking like Kathleen Wynne talking about more money for gender reassignment, like the Bruce Jenner stuff. Now, to me, I say that's a personal issue. People want to have sex changes, that's fine. It's different if you were burnt in a horrible fire, skin grafts and stuff like that. I can understand that. Or you have something that's debilitating you from living. Yeah, okay. But cosmetic surgery, which gender reassignment is cosmetic surgery? Taxpayer funded versus poor kids dying with leukemia, not funded enough. What do you think? What do you think? The problem with the Conservative government is they don't propose anything like that. They're just like, So in the social issues, they lose big, and that's the way it is. But the thing is as long as the economy, as long as if our deficit starts getting paid down, people are going to like the Conservatives a lot more, because I don't know when. That's never happened in my lifetime, I don't think. Maybe because Liberals did it maybe once. Now they'll say, yeah, but they balance the budgets every year, 12 years in a row, and the Conservatives haven't. Well, there's a few things. Number one, you have to factor in the budget was much higher under the Liberals. Number two, the war didn't start. The Afghanistan war started on the Liberals' end, with Chrétien. So obviously, you adapt a 13-year-long war, your budget's going to go through the roof. Those wars stay gone, our budget's going to come right down. And if we have a balanced budget means you're taking in enough money to pay everybody. So you don't really have to lay anybody off, But if you want to lower taxes, you can take a scalpel and say, okay, well, we can get rid of this. That might save us a percentage here, percentage there. That's what they're doing with the Conservatives. I like what they're doing, but not in every area. But the process is there. They have a process. The NDP doesn't really have a process. Trust me, I'm in Quebec. It's an NDP stronghold right now, and they don't even know what to do here, other than raise taxes. And then, of course, the Parti Québécois and the Bloc Québécois are not an option, whether it's Paletot or Gilles Doucette. Look, 23 years of Gilles Doucette in Quebec has destroyed Quebec. A year and a half of Pauline Mavoie, I mean, that's like a train wreck on top of a train wreck. It was just a disaster. Couillard, he's doing the right thing, but he's trying to keep it low radar because they have to do austerity. And you know what? People say, oh, those damn Conservatives, they're always cutting the healthcare and stuff like that. That's where it's being cut with the Liberals. They're doing the same thing. So they can't really come out and say, well, we're doing the same thing to those guys, so what separates us? No. Now, as far as, again, and I'm not giving, I don't want to make this sound like I'm raining endorsement for Harper. I want to make it sound more like this is the lesser of the evils. I get the social issues, there's economic issues, social issues. But right now, if you want to have social programs in the future, we have to have balanced budgets. Again, $1 billion over is out of a $360 billion budget per year on average, I think is what we do. Something like that, 390 billion, whatever it is. That runs our entire government, pretty much everything, right? So if they could keep generating that kind of revenue and they're only over the line by $1 billion, it's a drop. It's like complaining about an extra drop of water in your glass of water, right? It really isn't. We can recover from that. They've got room to cut. The thing is, and this is the thing too, is they haven't done the cutting and slashing, because that usually gets conservative governments. That's why Tim Hudak, he went a little too aggressive, and I agreed with what he was saying, but he was too aggressive. Everybody in the government in Ontario was going, oh my God, this guy's going to fire everybody. He didn't present himself right, because if he had have, he would have been able to do it. But it has to be done soon, because again, Ontario, Quebec, maritime provinces, their debts are out of control. So what people have to ask themselves, do you want higher taxes that don't really give you much more? Or would you rather have more money in your pocket? So has the Conservative government actually put money in people's pockets? Well, they've lowered the provincial sales tax a bit. They've lowered a few things. That child benefit thing, and now what their new announcement today was for a home renovation thing. Okay, it kind of helps everybody a bit. I mean, to me, I look at it. Anybody that's going to get a tax break, I don't really care. The problem people have to get out of their mindset is that somebody else might benefit when I don't want them to. So, okay, if somebody in a higher income bracket gets a benefit and you get a benefit, you take the benefit. You know what I mean? But it's got to be something. Think about it this way. And the way Harper explained it, maybe he's got his eye on the ball, or maybe he's just completely dropped the ball. But his explanation on the announcement today from the beginning of this video was basically if senior citizens want to renovate their home, they can get a bit of a tax credit. They might save a couple $100, they might save $1,000. That things break in the house, and that gives manufacturing jobs. It increases the flow. So again, to me, I don't know why they haven't done this yet. Particularly Minister Jason Kenney. I don't know if he'll be in charge of the in the same spot, but he did a good job on the immigration thing. I'll give him credit for that. We have one of the best standards in the world for immigration. We're just bringing in too many people. We're bringing in 250,000 people a year. It's too much. There's not enough job growth here to sustain that. That's my problem. So go back to the tap on, tap off. If we need you, we'll bring you in. I don't care where you come from. And, meet the criteria, way you go. We don't need you. Sorry, you're going to have to wait till a later date. I think that's fair. And again, they got a system that weeds out the fake claims of asylum seekers and stuff like that make fake claims versus the people that really do need it. So okay, you got to give credit where credit's due there. But the thing is he's in charge of small business. Well, maybe not right now because of the election. But why haven't they just really made the tax breaks for the small business? Because that's how you have a sustainable economy from within. And that's one of the things that if they could do that, never mind big corporate breaks and tax breaks and stuff. They did that. It doesn't really work. They say it does, but it doesn't really work. Because again, too big to fail, you got to let things fail. Because they ultimately will pay me now, pay me later. But the thing is, you have to also look at it too, is that if they do go towards small business and say, hey, we're going to make it easier for you to do business in a lot of areas, then yeah, they're going to get, the business community. Because that's the thing, most people, they can't start up a business because the cost is too high because of service fees. I'll use taxi cabs. Okay, look, Uber goes around, these guys have pretty much no regulation on it. Means every time that guy goes out and does whatever, he's making money. That's pretty capitalist, you know what I mean? And that's good. But that's more people that are not on welfare, right? So rather than regulate a handful of people and say, okay, as long as you spend $85,000 to $115,000 on a piece of tin plate to stick on your cabbie, what that's for, I have no idea why the fee of that. It's a tax grab. Get rid of that, holy crap. Next thing you know, you have 5 million cabbies, the prices go down because they're competing, but everybody's working, everybody's taking cabs, money's circulating, velocity of money, good for the economy. That's just one example. Deregulate to a point. But explain to people, we can deregulate, but deregulation also might mean a certain amount of risk. Now on the environment, the Conservatives haven't really done that bad. I mean, Canada isn't a massive polluting country. The opposition, because their base is very, global warming believers, as I call them, which is a scam. It's a tax scam. Look, I've looked into it as non-biased as possible, looked at all the facts that I could possibly look into, and has there been some warming? Yes, in areas. But has it anthropogenic man-made global warming? No. Lord Moncton sat down with Harper and explained how the feedback loop was the biggest scam ever, how they came up to that. And you look at their predictions, like Al Gore. According to Al Gore, in 2013, we were supposed to be standing on the surface of Mars. Not even close. Was 2014 the hottest year on record, according to Obama? Depends where you looked. That type of thing. I'm not saying there isn't, climate change, but that's a natural cycle. Our CO2 is nothing. When people say, yeah, but the CO2. Well, even Harper understands that, the CO2 isn't anywhere close to the lethal levels. It's like 1,000th of what a lethal dose is. And it's nowhere in the atmosphere where they said it was going to be. The oceans, some areas they warmed up, but they didn't warm up right to the depths. The ice caps, okay, they're not as thick, but they're getting bigger because the ice is coming back. Again, it's going to get, we're going to find, again, they're predicting a cooling trend. So to tax people, and that's what cap and trade is. Cap and trade, and even Kathleen Wynne, when she explained it in Ontario, it does nothing, absolutely nothing, to lower emissions. Carbon neutral, when you hear that, these are buzzwords. Carbon neutral means, you're getting zero-sum pollution, meaning you're going to pollute a little more over here, but you're going to get less over here. But that means somebody's dropping their emissions somewhere, that somebody's going to actually clean up their factory, whatever it might be. Okay, so that's actual lowering emissions. But that's not what they're proposing. What they're proposing in cap and trade is we're going to sell carbon credits or give carbon credits to a company that doesn't pollute very much and allow them to sell them to another company that pollutes more, and meaning these people here are going to make a better profit because they got the better standard, and these people here are going to pay more to produce, meaning it's just going to go to the government. So what has changed? Money. That's it. There's no environmental regulation. So where Harper stood when they asked him about Obama's speech today, he said, well, look, we're already doing what we're doing and stuff like that. And I think a lot of people are, when they do look into it and remove the emotional kind of thing, yes, be prepared for nasty weather. Why? Because in colder climates, weather gets nasty. These big, powerful tornadoes, hot air, it's cold air. The colder the air, the more powerful the tornado. What is that telling you? These big hailstorms, the rain, stuff like that. Cold air, what is that telling you? We're cooling. We're not, they're predicting because of the sun. And I find it funny when I hear people talk about how the sun has no bearing on our climate. It's all man-made. No. But anyway, I digress. So on the climate, we'll have to see what policies they're going to go. What I'm more interested in is keeping the ship off the rocks for the next economic collapse, which, again, if you listen to what he is saying, he's not going to come out and say, yeah, we're going to get not a recession, we're going to go into a global depression. What he is saying is, we're the best to weather the storm, we weathered it before, we're going to batten down the hatches. So when people hear that, they're not stupid, they know that the economy is fragile because of, if the United States has a big, massive debt problem, remember, the United States has an $18 trillion deficit on the books. Never mind the other 240 trillion, or maybe even possibly 4 quadrillion, which is an unfathomable amount of number. If you were to take $1,000 bills and pack them up on top of each other, you could reach the moon, literally. That much money doesn't exist on 10 planets, let alone one. So maybe if they stricken up on our banking system, we might be okay. I still don't know how the Bank of Canada thing is working out to restore the Bank of Canada. If we had a balanced budget and we kicked out the IMF and restored the Bank of Canada to credit money into existence rather than loan it into existence, force banks to clean up their practices before we get bad, we could be sitting pretty good. We could be sitting pretty good, but we don't know if they're going to do that or not. So we'll have to just keep an eye on what they're doing. Right now, I'm not seeing anything from Justin Trudeau that I didn't expect. Thomas Mulcair, I don't know yet because he hasn't said anything, which is bizarre considering he's usually, follows Harper around yelling at him. But anyway, I digress. So you guys, again, whatever side of the camp you go on, the only thing I tell people is inform yourself, not what the politicians are saying, but do look at their track records. What have they done? Again, you're going to find every politician has done something stupid. Now, the Senate scandal, it's so scandal-like. It's bad, yes, throw the bastards in jail that done it. But consider the Liberal scandals with Paul Martin, the Liberal scandals with Chrétien, the scandals going on in Ontario now. I mean, you can't even compare it. The Conservatives have been, I wouldn't say saints, but, they've done stupid things, but they've been least costly. And that's what I think people are looking at. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But anyway, you can throw in your 2 cents. You want to bash them. Again, I'm not going to try to sway you one way or the other. You think for yourself. I know 66% of people polled by the Angus Reid poll want to change the government. They don't want Harper anymore. Nobody does. I don't want him anymore. But who do we get? That's the thing. Now, the Libertarian Party out west, I think I got a few messages from one of the guys there. The problem I have with that is, number one, the party's not big enough. Number two, they want open borders, and you can't have that. That's my deal killer right there. Because I've seen El Salvador, Bolivia, Somalia, Syria, technically the Ukraine right now. Every country I see with open borders has a lot of damn problems. You got to know who's coming in. The southern United States. You got to know who's coming in. So anyway, that's my take on it. But other things, I do like their idea of cutting, foreign aid I would love to see. Unfortunately, our foreign policy is doubling back on the American foreign policy, which is basically all wars for Israel. That's my problem. The thing is at least they're not going full hell bent on it. I mean, you think about, okay, you got less than 600 personnel out there, fighting ISIS, which, if anybody in the military right now in Canada, they don't want another Afghanistan war, but they also know that if they're ever sent to war, the government they want behind them is going to be the Harper government. Our new tanks, warships are a little bit delayed, but they're coming. We got submarines. We got now submarines go back to Kretche, but they're finally online. I think there's one more to get online. We're getting new missile systems. Again, we're going to be shooting at the Russians in a few years anyway. Most likely over the Arctic for Canada. It could start over the Ukraine. Our tanks are, we got those Leopard tanks that are just, these things are beasts. I want one so bad. So if the military people are going to vote for that. Where they need to catch the slack on there is start taking better care of the veterans. Now, they have cut some offices and stuff like that, so, that might sting the Conservatives too. But, again, the Conservatives cut this much for the military and gave them that much. They cut this much for the veterans and gave them that much. The Liberals cut this much for the military and gave pretty much nothing to the veterans. So, again, lesser of evils, right? So these are things to keep. And as a gun owner, again, even if you're a liberal, a lot of gun owners, they want to keep their guns. You can't vote. You can't vote left in this country. You'll lose your guns, and it's a property issue. It's a property issue, especially when the statistics are so heavily on the gun owner sides in Canada. We don't have a gun problem here. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. So you guys tell me what you think. If you think I missed anything, or you think, okay, no, but you didn't point out this. I mean, point out all the bad stuff, but point out the good stuff too. Because often people will just do that. Well, they point out the bad things that this party does, and that'll sway a vote to not vote for somebody, right? But on the other hand, you have to look at it, yes, but in comparison to what? Liberal, NDP, Conservative, which none of these parties are what they say they are, but, Conservatives are socialist, fascist, right-leaning. The Liberals are socialist, fascist, left-leaning. The NDP is communist, socialist, and the Green Party is kind of, I don't know what planet they're on. And the Bloc Québécois, Parti Québécois, don't even get me started on those guys. They're idiots. But anyway, because they do nothing for Quebec. They do nothing for Quebec. And I'm in Quebec, so I can trash them all I want. But anyway, point is put down policies that you like. Put down the policies you don't. Because I can't follow it all, right? But if you really want to get people informed in this, I think people are starting to become more informed on their voting practices. They really are. I think this election is going to probably show us how people are really thinking. Again, I can't see everybody being on board with the Conservatives in the last government, the last election, but they got a majority. But they got a majority because of the way Harper, when he does get out in front of the microphone, he answers. The problem is he doesn't, even if he did the Putin thing and do the Q&A, just so people, let us know what you're thinking. We want to know what the hell you're up to. It's like a teenager that goes out in the middle of the night and, where are they, getting drunk? What are you doing, smashing cars or something? What are you doing? We want to know what you're up to. Oh, I was working on a nuclear physics. Well, tell us. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. So if you like this kind of content, please consider making a donation to the channel. Rate, subscribe, share, comment, like. Be true to yourself. Be true to others. Always do the right thing. And have yourselves a great day. We're going to see two things today. You are going to see a political discussion and how to make some chicken fried rice. That's what we're going to do. So I know some of you say, hey, where did that multitasking thing that you normally do? Because it's nice to learn a skill while you're learning about the world. Why not, right? So, yeah, I got to make some chicken fried rice because I haven't made some in a while. I got the chicken in there. So, following the campaign, the Harper campaign, the Justin Trudeau campaign, you can simply just refer to him as Justin. Apparently, there was some good call-outs, I guess you could say, from Harper today. Actually, really kind of took a real huge pot shot at Kathleen Wynne. It's about time. I don't know if it was kind of professional of him to do, but it was kind of funny. Actually, it wasn't kind of funny. It was real funny. So a reporter's asking him, I haven't talked too much from Justin Trudeau a little bit, but Thomas Mulcair I don't think is actually, well, he probably has by now, but he came out and he didn't actually take any questions, which is kind of weird when you're campaigning to run the country. He's going to kind of want to know what you think, you know what I mean? Why he didn't take questions on the first day, I don't know. I don't know what that was about. I can't, it's not a very good campaign strategy, but we'll have to see what happens there. But Justin Trudeau pretty much trying to win over people over there in Calgary. I don't know how that's going to work. it's one of those things that he is kind of trying to do damage control in the sense that, on the experience thing. But the thing is it's not the experience that worries me about Justin Trudeau. It's not even the, don't come in there. That's good. Yeah, I eat raw onion, I eat raw garlic. I'm that person. I'll never be attacked by a vampire, I can tell you that. But the thing is that the people keep coming back to the same thing with Harper, and it does seem to keep coming back to the same thing with the other guys too, because, again, everybody, they kind of got their eye on the ball when it comes to their own interest. They're looking at saying, hey, you know what? How secure is my job really? Oh, that's a good piece of chunk of garlic. And people are really worried about the economy. So I know there's a lot of people that watch videos like mine and other people, and they're saying, well, people just, they're completely oblivious to what's going on in the world, and so they're not. They're really not. Well, maybe in some countries, yes, but I mean, nobody can really argue with me that people in Greece don't know what's going on. Ooh, what the question is what do we do about it, right? Like, I mean, Harper has been doing some weird dancing with the economy questions. He has, it's kind of weird. Like I say, you never hear from the guy, which is so bizarre. Like, when they do good stuff, they don't tell anybody. When they do bad stuff, they put, that's what they put in front of the media. So Bill C-51 kind of comes up as an issue for a lot of people. For me, I'm kind of a little more cold than lukewarm on it. I don't like the idea. I don't care what the process is, as long as you follow due process. To me, I don't care about the safety aspect if it trumps rule of law, meaning get a warrant. I don't care if they have extra powers to spy or do whatever. I don't mind giving them the RCMP and stuff like that tools. I have my issues with the RCMP and CSIS and all that. But as long as they get a warrant, if it's warranted, yeah, okay, sure, make their job easier. But it's not as bad. Again, Bill C-51 isn't as bad as people think it is, and it's not as good as people think it is. So depending on what side of the fence you're on, it really, there's bad on both sides. But yet that's the policy that they really pushed, that the Liberals and the NDP were completely, I figured that would be the first thing they'd be attacking, and so far they haven't hardly brought it up at all, which is kind of funny. What seems to be the question, even Justin Trudeau's kind of said, look, people are worried about the economy. He knows that. The problem is Justin Trudeau is a Keynesian. So is Thomas Mulcair, meaning sell the future now, spend, live a better life now, put the burden on the future generations. Harper is not a Keynesian. I wouldn't call him an Austrian economics, but he's not Keynesian, meaning you can't spend your way out of debt. The thing that Harper is saying is that the policies that the NDP, and he lumps them all together, and the Liberals want, is what led to the things. He's not saying it directly, but he's pretty much hinting that's what led to Greece, Spain, and Italy, and Ireland, and all that. And he also recounted that, said, look, we're the only country that didn't get an economic downgrade. Our currency is still, yeah, it's falling a bit, but it's we got $1 billion over budget. That's nothing. Find me another country that's only added, only $1 billion over on their budget. Now, that budget isn't the deficit. The deficit, yeah, we got 700 million or whatever it is. We're not at $1 trillion yet. I don't ever want to get there. So what they got to start doing, if they want to keep people, remember the Conservatives are incrementalists. They're not really Conservatives. They're socialist fascists. I'd rather them call themselves socialist fascists. It's just, branding is kind of a funny thing. It's kind of like the NDP. I wish they would just come out and say they were socialist communists. The Liberals, they're socialist. They're so middle of the road socialist fascist. The Conservatives are right-wing fascist in the sense that they're a little more, I wouldn't say free market, but the trade deals and stuff like that. One thing Harper talked about was, said, look, for people know, like they're not stupid. They know that we were going to, that bad oil prices and stuff like that were going to hurt us. But in the long term, we're probably going to do good. And here's why. Because he keeps referring to trade partners, not U.S. trade partners. The Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership, that's just something he wants that feather in his cap, sure. But he's thinking bigger. Harper's thinking the world. Again, he's in it for himself. There's no question. I'm not giving him a ringing endorsement, but I'm just telling people, look, because you get a lot of people, and the same with Obama, too. I mean, Obama does do some things that, I can't think of anything right now, but he does do some good things. But for the majority of the stuff he does, I don't like. It's what he says and what he does. Harper tends to say what he's going to do and just Okay, I'll tell you once, and if you didn't hear me back then, I'm not going to repeat it. And then he keeps doing it. So that's the problem with Harper. He doesn't. But that's probably the strategy that works for him. Out of sight, out of mind. Anytime a politician